Hello, church. Welcome to the next edition of Take 5, and we are wrapping up the book of Titus. Just want to celebrate with the church the great launch to our vision that we had yesterday in children's ministry as we opened up classrooms for students at the 8:15 service. That could not have gone better. Thank you to Pastors Kelly and Jessica just for the great job they've done, and for you, the church, for stepping up. And I want to thank Jason yesterday, who just did an amazing job with his sermon. Jason lives every day and every week in the literally in the trenches of what our teenagers experience and go through in this world. And so there is no better person versed on the challenges that they face. So just a real big shout out to him for the great job that he did yesterday. So listen, I want to remind you as we get into Titus here that the New Testament is an internal document. And what I mean by that is that the original writers never intended it to be read by the outside world. It was like an internal memo that would be sent from the president to employees and that kind of thing, not really meant for the outside. And so we know that Titus's letter from Paul is a letter specifically to the church. And so I think you need to understand that as we read what we're about to read next. So we pick it up in verse 9, and here's what it says. But avoid foolish controversies and genealogies and arguments and quarrels about the law, because these are unprofitable and useless. Warn a divisive person once, and then warn them a second time, and after that have nothing to do with them. You may be sure that such people are warped and sinful. They are self-condemned. You think Paul's mentioning words here? I mean, he's just kind of getting right to the point of things. And I think part of what we understand in this first part of the text is that foolish controversies come up, quarrels come up, genealogies, meaning whether you are Jew or Gentile is probably what is referenced here. These are all stirring up trouble inside the church. So I think the biblical approach to dealing with conflict is to let love be the subversive approach to dealing with your enemies. In other words, that you've got to counterattack with love. Romans 12:20 reminds us that being kind to your enemy is like heaping burning coals on them. So in other words, that who would repay evil for someone who did good? And so you do good to people even though they are evil, right? So we find ourselves in this place where I think some people just like to fight. Some people just like to argue. Some people can never be wrong. They've always got to be right. You know those people. I know those people. They drive me nuts personally. If I'm honest about that, it requires an extra dose of grace when I'm dealing with those people. And I think for me, what people are shocked by is that your pastor, he loves a good fight. I don't back down from a good fight. And so the way I deal with that is very biblically, like you get to come yell at me one time. Like one time you get to your full shot, best shot. You can yell at me. You can be mad at me. I'm willing to take it. I'm willing to hear it. The second time we visit, it better be to reconcile. It better be because you've come with a contrite heart, recognizing that you didn't handle it well, and then we are going to reconcile. Because after that, I don't engage. You need to know, and you know this if you've ever sent me an email that was less than encouraging, I don't engage in bad emails. I just thank you for having taken the time to email me your concern or your opinion or your advice or whatever it is. But if it is super negative, I just don't engage. There's no benefit to this. And this is how Paul is trying to teach Titus to deal with conflict inside the local church. So can I tell you, Dee Dee and I were at a concert just the other night. We went out. This is kind of our new thing to do. We went and saw Chicago, music from our earlier, younger days. And so we're having a great time. And a woman about 5 rows below us, she's standing up during the whole concert. And everybody's my age and older, so they're all sitting down. Well, it makes a guy in our row just furious, and he starts screaming at her. Doesn't kindly ask her to sit down, just starts screaming at her. And the next thing you know, fingers are flying, and I'm not talking about shouting, I'm number one. I'm talking about the other finger, and people are just exchanging verbal. I literally thought I was going to watch a bunch of 70-year-olds get into a knockout, drag-out fight in a concert where the music group is singing about love of all things. So I just think that we live in a world that is conflict driven, where people respond in anger, and that there's an intentionality to be hurtful. Listen, I want to close with this. I think we live in a world where there are separators in the world. People, for whatever reason, don't like or support unity amongst the body or unity in a family. Like I think I've seen separators in families, that people that come between other people, divide them, but promote rumors, these kind of things. This is what Paul is addressing. He said, listen, you can't give this energy. You can exercise grace, right? 1 time, 2 times, but then you can't give it energy. You've got to cut the snake's head off. You can't let this thing continue to go, or otherwise you're going to have a church that is a divisive trap where others sit and wait to create division, right? So you have to be on guard against those people in our culture and society that would want to separate people from one from another, right? So I think this is useful teaching for us, not only culturally in the world we live in, but specifically about what kind of church are you going to have? Are you going to have a church that's marked by divisiveness? Or are you going to have a church that's marked by unity? I'm thankful to say I believe our church, Georgianna, is one that is driven by unity. So church, again, I hope this is helpful teaching. Love you very much. We're going to finish up Titus next week. So look forward to that message. Have a great and glorious week.